Can one person truly change the fate of a nation? Esther, a young Jewish woman, defied the mighty Persian Empire and risked her life to save her people from certain destruction. In this video, we'll explore Esther's incredible courage and how her bravery not only saved the Jews but also demonstrated God's divine intervention in the darkest of times. By watching, you'll gain valuable lessons about the power of standing up for what's right, even when the odds are against you. Have you ever felt called to take a stand for something greater than yourself? Esther's story will inspire you to act with boldness and faith, knowing that God can use anyone for His purpose. Before we dive into this powerful tale, make sure to like and subscribe. Your support helps us share this incredible story with more people who need to hear it. Let's uncover the courage of Esther together. Esther's story begins with her origins as a Jewish orphan. She was raised by her cousin Mordecai after the death of her parents, Esther 2 verses 5 to 7. Living in the Persian Empire, a foreign land, Esther grew up in an environment far from her homeland. Despite her circumstances, she remained close to Mordecai, who cared for her and guided her. When the king's edict called for a search for a new queen, Esther was chosen to participate in a beauty contest to find a suitable candidate to marry King Xerxes. The Persian Empire, where Esther's story unfolds, was one of the most powerful and vast empires of the ancient world. It stretched across many regions, including modern-day Iran, parts of the Middle East, and beyond. King Xerxes, the ruler of this empire, held great power, and his decisions impacted the lives of millions. His royal court was filled with wealth, luxury, and political intrigue, and it was in this environment that Esther would rise to prominence. Esther's rise to queen was not only due to her beauty but also her intelligence and wisdom. She was carefully chosen from among many young women because of her outstanding qualities. Her grace, poise, and charm won the favor of King Xerxes, but it was her ability to navigate the royal court and understand the dynamics of power that truly set her apart. Esther possessed the courage to stand up for what was right, even when the stakes were high. Though Esther had the beauty and qualities that made her stand out, it was her inner strength and wisdom that allowed her to thrive in a world of political danger. As queen, she kept her Jewish identity hidden at first, Esther 2 verses 17 to 20, which was a decision that would play a crucial role in the unfolding of her story. Esther's story is a testament to how qualities like intelligence, courage, and faith can shape a person's destiny, even in the most unlikely of circumstances. Haman, an advisor to King Xerxes, rose to a position of great influence in the Persian Empire. However, his hatred for Mordecai, a Jewish man who refused to bow to him, led him to plot something far more sinister. Haman's anger grew when he saw Mordecai's refusal as a personal insult, and he devised a plan to exterminate all the Jews in the empire, not just Mordecai. His resentment toward one man led to a catastrophic scheme to annihilate an entire people, Esther 3 verses 5 to 6. To carry out his plan, Haman convinced King Xerxes to issue an edict calling for the destruction of all Jews living within the Persian Empire. He promised that this act would bring great financial reward to the king. The decree, once signed by the king, was sent throughout the empire, giving a clear order for the massacre of the Jewish people. This decree was a direct threat to the survival of the Jewish population, and it caused widespread fear and despair, Esther 3 verses 12 to 15. When Mordecai learned of this plot, he immediately sent word to Queen Esther, urging her to use her influence as queen to intervene. He reminded her that, although she was in a position of power, her Jewish identity could not protect her if the decree was carried out. Mordecai's words carried a heavy truth. Esther, too, was at risk, and she was the only one who could stand up to Haman's evil plan. The situation was dire, and the future of her people hung in the balance. Esther's role in this crisis was crucial. Her courage and quick thinking would determine whether the Jewish people would survive or face extermination. Mordecai's plea reached Esther's heart, and she understood the gravity of the moment. Esther's decision to act could not have been more important, as it would change the course of history for the Jewish people and their future under Persian rule. Approaching King Xerxes without being summoned was a dangerous act, as it could result in immediate death. The laws of the Persian court were strict, and anyone who entered the king's presence without his invitation was risking their life. Esther understood this grave danger, but knew that the fate of her people depended on her willingness to act. She was not just going to speak with the king as a queen, but as a Jewish woman who could change the future of her entire community. In this moment, Esther was preparing to risk everything for the survival of her people. Esther 4 verse 11. In response to Mordecai's plea, Esther made a powerful declaration, "If I perish, I perish." Esther 4 verse 16. This statement encapsulated Esther's courage and her resolve to do what was necessary, regardless of the personal cost. She knew the risks but chose to act with selflessness. By saying these words, Esther embraced the reality that her life could be lost, yet she placed the greater good of her people above her own safety. This moment marked her transition from fear to faith, as she placed her trust in God, knowing that He was in control. Before taking any further action, Esther called upon the Jewish people to fast and pray for 3 days. She knew that this was not only a physical challenge but a spiritual battle. In seeking God's guidance and strength, Esther and the Jews acknowledged their dependence on God's intervention. Fasting and praying were ways to humble themselves before God, asking for divine favor and courage to face the impossible. This collective act of faith prepared Esther for her life-changing encounter with the king. Esther 4 verses 15 to 17. These 3 days of fasting and prayer set the stage for Esther's bold moment in the palace. She knew that her decision would change the course of history, and she had to be certain that it was God's will. The courage Esther showed in the face of such dire circumstances is an inspiring example of faith and sacrifice. It is a reminder to us all that sometimes, in the most difficult moments, God calls us to take risks for His purposes, trusting that He will guide us through. Esther, using great wisdom and strategy, invited both King Xerxes and Haman to a banquet she had prepared. This was her opportunity to speak up, but she did so with great care, knowing the danger of confronting Haman directly. At the banquet, instead of immediately revealing the plot against the Jews, Esther invited them to another banquet, building tension and suspense. Her actions were deliberate, allowing the situation to unfold slowly, which gave her time to prepare for the right moment to expose Haman's wicked plan. Esther 5 verses 1 to 8. The turning point came during the second banquet, where Esther's courage and divine timing aligned perfectly. She finally revealed her Jewish identity to the king, and in a bold move, exposed Haman as the one responsible for the plot to destroy her people. She spoke passionately, asking the king to save her life and the lives of her people, who were under threat. The king's response was one of shock and anger, and he was swayed by Esther's plea, turning the situation in favor of the Jews. Esther 7 verses 1 to 6. Haman, once a man of great power and favor in the Persian court, quickly found himself undone by his own scheming. The king, enraged by Esther's revelation, ordered Haman's execution. Haman was hanged on the very gallows he had built for Mordecai, a dramatic reversal of fortune that highlighted the justice of God. Haman's downfall marked the end of his evil plan, and with his death, the threat to the Jews was effectively removed. Esther 7 verses 7 to 10. As a result of Esther's bravery and her timely revelation, the king issued a new decree allowing the Jews to defend themselves against any who would seek to harm them. The reversal of Haman's decree was a monumental shift, leading to the salvation of the Jewish people. Esther's courage had turned the tide of history, and her bold move was instrumental in ensuring the survival of her people and the eventual establishment of Purim as a celebration of their deliverance. After Esther revealed Haman's plot, King Xerxes issued a new decree that allowed the Jews to defend themselves against their enemies. This decree marked a significant turning point for the Jewish people, who were now empowered to protect their lives and property. The Jews fought back with great success, and many of their enemies were defeated. This victory ensured their survival and marked the beginning of a time of peace and celebration. Esther 8 verses 9 to 17. Esther's bravery and faith had an enormous impact, not just on her own life, but on the entire Jewish nation. By risking her life to approach the king and expose Haman's wickedness, she became a symbol of courage and devotion. Her actions showed that one person, no matter how seemingly insignificant, can make a world-changing difference. Esther's willingness to stand up for what was right, even in the face of danger, saved countless lives and solidified her legacy as a hero of faith. In honor of their deliverance, the Jews established the Feast of Purim, a celebration that continues to this day. The holiday is a time to remember how God used Esther's courage to protect the Jewish people from annihilation. During Purim, Jews read the story of Esther, give gifts, and celebrate their victory over their enemies. This festival serves as a reminder of how faith, courage, and God's timing can lead to miraculous outcomes, and it has become a symbol of hope for all generations. Esther 9 verses 20-32. The story of Esther continues to inspire people around the world. Her courage in the face of adversity reminds us that we, too, can make a difference when we stand up for what is right, even when the odds are against us. Esther's legacy teaches us that with faith and determination, we can overcome challenges, protect those we love, and play a role in bringing about positive change in the world. After Esther revealed Haman's plot, King Xerxes issued a new decree that allowed the Jews to defend themselves against their enemies. This was a turning point for the Jewish people, who were now authorized to fight back and protect themselves from those who sought to destroy them. The Jews successfully defended themselves, defeating many of their adversaries and ensuring their survival. The victory was a powerful testament to the faith and bravery of Esther, and it brought relief and joy to the Jewish people. Esther 8 verses 9-17. Esther's bravery and faith became a beacon of hope and courage for the Jewish people. By putting her life on the line to approach the king and expose Haman's evil plan, she not only saved her people but also became a symbol of courage and sacrifice. Esther demonstrated that one person's actions, no matter how seemingly small, can make a world-changing difference. Her story is a reminder that courage in the face of fear can lead to the preservation and transformation of an entire nation. In recognition of their deliverance, the Jewish people established the holiday of Purim to celebrate their victory and the protection they received. Purim is a time of feasting, giving gifts, and remembering how Esther's bravery saved the Jews from annihilation. It is a joyful holiday that reinforces the importance of faith, courage, and God's providence in times of peril. The story of Esther continues to inspire people worldwide, reminding them of the power of standing up for what is right. Esther 9 verses 20-32. Esther's legacy provides timeless lessons for us all. Her courage in the face of fear teaches us to act boldly, even when the risks seem insurmountable. God's perfect timing, as seen in Esther's story, shows that He is always at work behind the scenes, guiding events for His purposes. Esther also reminds us of the importance of standing up for justice and righteousness, no matter how difficult it may be. Her actions encourage us to be brave, trust in God's plan, and speak out when it matters most. In summary, Esther's courage and faith played a crucial role in saving the Jewish people from annihilation. Her bravery in the face of danger, her willingness to speak up for justice, and her reliance on God's guidance are central to her story. By risking her life to reveal Haman's plot, Esther transformed the fate of an entire nation, demonstrating how one person's actions can change history. As we reflect on Esther's story, we can draw inspiration for our own lives. When facing challenges or when it feels difficult to stand up for what is right, we can look to Esther as an example of courage and faith. Her willingness to act, even at great personal risk, teaches us that we, too, can make a difference by trusting in God and stepping up for justice when the time comes. If you've been inspired by Esther's story, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more powerful and inspiring content. Like this video, share it with friends and family who might benefit from her story, and comment below to let us know what you learned. How has Esther's example impacted your own spiritual journey, and how can you apply her courage in your life? Esther's legacy reminds us that no matter the odds, standing up for what's right, with faith and courage, can lead to extraordinary results. Let's carry her lessons with us and continue to act boldly in the face of adversity.